two of them.
Not my first rodeo, as they say.
You sticking around?
I'm gonna take them out to dinner.
Oh, actually.
You want to stay?
I'll be here. I mean, I'm gonna be working, but afterwards, I don't know. I'll let you know.
Andres?
I know.
I'm gonna put it on the house.
Where you guys gonna be here?
Around here. Easy.
Yeah.
You're not obligated, but if you
Are
want
you
to.
coming in tomorrow? Are you gonna be?
Huh? Maybe.
Yeah.
I haven't decided. We're not supposed to be in past Wednesday.
Until Wednesday. Yeah.
And then we're leaving on Thursday morning. We should all come in on Wednesday.
We are. Yeah. Packing. Yeah.
Like those of us traveling.
Yeah.
But tomorrow I don't care. I don't need
About the suitcases. I think they're in places.
The beta is out. I haven't seen the beta. Woo! We just brought on the board from Chapel Jones.
Yeah, no, nah. I really should get more water.
Should I sit next to Sophie? But I don't think she has. Does she have spaces staked out? Or should I save them for her?
No, no, she does. She's sit wherever you want.
No, but I want to like help her with the kids.
Okay. What's up? Oh, no, this is my wife. Yeah, my wife's coming with a few babies. So they're 1-year-old.
Give us a few minutes, folks. We're just going to bring some more chairs in so we don't have folks standing in the back. Thank you for your patience. Well, you guys quieted down. I didn't expect that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There will be some chairs that are coming in the back. For those of you standing in the back, just watch them come in from the back. You won't have to stand this whole time. So hello and welcome. Welcome to all of you here assembled in the Clark Room inside the world famous Explorers Club, and to all of you joining us online. You guys are in for a very, very special evening tonight. My name is Natalie Cash. I am executive video producer at the Wildlife Conservation Society, and I'm also a fellow and board of, little ones, on cue. I'm also a fellow and proud to serve on the board of directors here at the Explorers Club. And because it is one of my all-time favorite club activities, I co-chair proudly the Public Lectures Committee, serving with fellow director Paul Tangy, Katie Losi, and here in the audience tonight, Callie Broaddus. Can you get a little shout out for Callie? Round of applause for her, and a round of applause for you, because you are here for our season opener of the 25-26 series of public lectures at the Explorers Club. So a big round of applause for you for coming. It's a very, very exciting evening planned. This is one that we worked all summer to get, so I'm so glad that the timing worked out. This is very, very cool. But just to give you a little history, the public lectures are a time-honored tradition here at the club. They go back 100 years to the 1920s, to these small-scale, intimate conversations that the members would have with each other's legendary explorers and club members at the turn of the century. Since then, Monday night presentations have become a staple here at the club, a platform from which all manner of speakers, from Neil Armstrong to Jane Goodall, have come back and shared their discoveries with their peers in the general public. So I wanted to ask, do we have any first-time visitors to the Explorers Club tonight by a show of hands? Wow, that's great, welcome. Welcome to the club. You know, whether it's your first time here or your 500th time, you're in for a very special treat. Public Lecture is one of our oldest initiatives, and now you're going to learn about one of our newest. And this story that you're about to hear, I swear to God, it has it all. This is why it is our season opener. It's got travel to an extreme ecosystem, scientific discovery, education, public engagement, an EC50 member. You can see, right? So I'm not going to give you everything away. I'm going to actually introduce you to your host for this journey to the frontiers of exploration and education. And before I bring him up, I'm going to regale you, those of you who do not know him and those of you online, with a short list of his very many accomplishments. He's a geothermal scientist, conservationist, educator, National Geographic explorer, TED speaker, holds degrees in geology and finance, and is working on the PhD, y'all. Much of his work focuses on bridging gaps and finding harmony between traditional, indigenous, and modern Western science. But he's best known for his work in Peru's Bowling River on the Amazon, as you can see here. And it is there that he became the first geoscientist to receive the shamanic blessing to study this sacred Amazonian site. So not only is it featured in this image behind me, all of our Explorers Club members, this is my member card, also featured this image. So, who is this man of mystery? Welcoming back to the Explorers Club podium, EC50 member, co-founder of the Explorers Club Teachers Fellows Program, and my dear friend, Andres Rujo Callejas.
I am too ADD to stand at a podium, so we'll start with that one. But buenas noches, everybody. I am so excited to be here. Thank you, guys. This is a really historic room, as she mentioned, right? And we've got a really unique opener for you guys today. We've got a lot of very special guests from our field team and, well, a new frontier that we're going to open up. So as we begin, the first thing, this is beyond that, like you said, there's a lot of boxes to check off with this one. We were very honored by Rolex to have this be a Rolex expedition. So there's some special, it's a special award. Yeah, it's still in there, good. Rolex and the Explorers Club have a long history together, and we've got 3 very special engraved Rolex watches that they send us into the field with to, do some cool science, bring some cool awareness, and support some great projects. So thank you very much, Rolex. We're going to be giving this back reluctantly. Number one. Number two, another amazing thing about being in this room, unfortunately it's behind there, but there's all these incredible flags, right? These flags have an amazing history, and it's a legacy of exploration, a legacy of science, of protection. Each one of these flags has a story behind it. This one, Flag 114, which we took down to the Boiling River with us, has been to the deepest point on the planet and to the highest point on the planet. Anyone, any guesses as to where highest and lowest are? Silvano?
The bottom of the Mariana Trench and the top of Ladies Mountain.
That's right. This is my son Silvano. He's 7. Gracias, Silvano. And then the final thing that we're going to do in good Amazonian fashion is we're going to make a sacrifice. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to make any sacrifices, though that poor monkey did, unfortunately, not last long in the Boiling River. But we'll talk more about that later. What we will do, though, is celebrate what we hope to be a new age of exploration. And I know that's a pretty lofty thing to start out with, but I deeply believe that what we're about to show today is probably one of the most important things that we can be looking at in science and exploration, in education and in conservation. Hopefully by the end of all of this, we've convinced you of that. So, and I say we because, we got a couple people in the audience. I'm going to have everyone stand. We got our 4 teacher fellows right here. Come on, stand up so they can see you. We're going to focus on them tonight. Brian, you're going to have to stand up. And Dennis, I lost you. Where's Dennis? Hopefully, there he is. So we got Dennis and Brian somewhere in there too. But we've talked. Yeah. Oh yeah. He's far. He was the one taking the picture. Never mind. So, oops. So this was a really special expedition that was 2 months ago. It ended 2 months ago. We were at the Boiling River of the Amazon, and this was the inaugural, ESL. Ayúdame con esto. Inaugural expedition for the Explorers Club Teacher Fellows Program. This is a really amazing program that we've been working on for a while that, like I said, we want to convince you guys that this has to be the next step, especially given everything going on in the world. Now, we'll talk about each of these guys, and each one of them will share a part of their story too. So I'm keeping my bit a bit shorter. And then after that, we're going to come back together, and then we got a bit of show and tell at the end too. But before we move on, I want to take you guys to one of the most amazing ecosystems on our planet. This is the Boiling River of the Amazon. Thank you. It's like I planted there myself. But anybody heard of it? Not heard of it? New to the Boiling River? Oh, man. All right, this is good. Truly, this is one of the most spectacular places on Earth. What you're looking at is a picture of the largest documented thermal river on the planet. This place, this ecosystem, is in the heart of the Peruvian Amazon. The Peruvian Amazon is a mega biodiverse ecosystem, by the way. So tons of biodiversity. And on top of that, running through the heart of this place, you've got a river that is wider than a 2-lane road, that flows for almost 4 miles, and that is hot enough to kill you for most of that path. And you can see we had an expert drone pilot. If anybody knows Chris Rayner, his son Skylar was the drone pilot on that. He was one of our student interns last year. And there's a reason I mentioned student interns. We'll bring that up later. But again, even though this is the largest documented thermal river on the planet, we are over 430 miles away from the nearest active volcanic center. This place is not volcanic in origin. The temperature at this point when we took this picture was pushing 187 degrees Fahrenheit. At 117, you and I start to cook. And that, and by the way, is hotter than even the hottest Starbucks coffee. Undergrad is expensive in the United States, so I worked at Starbucks for 2 years. And I can tell you, most drinks cut off at about 130 degrees Fahrenheit, and then 140 for the extra hot ones. So that 2nd to 3rd degree burns in less than a second. It is absolutely amazing. Its name, Shanai Timpishka. Shanai, heat of the sun. Timpu is the verb to boil. Its name literally means boiled with the heat of the sun, and there's about roughly 100 yard stretch that looks like that. It's absolutely incredible. This is a sacred place. It had been sacred for a long time. You take a drone up, as Dennis over there can tell you, you go up 1,000 feet and you can see a wall of steam. That's all from the river. All of it. This is a place where the clouds are born. This is a place where the waters of the sacred boiling river, through its vapor, connect with the great celestial river, the river of light, the Milky Way, according to their legends, right? And here you have a place where that's a waterfall, 20-foot drop, about 155 degrees Fahrenheit, 155 degree Fahrenheit water coming over the top. I'm the blue dot there for scale. The widest point gets to be 100 feet wide. Think about that. 100 feet wide going on, that's the widest point. The deepest point gets to be about 15 feet deep. Think how much energy it takes to heat up your one mug of coffee in the morning. This is incredible. I've been to volcanoes and geothermal systems all over the world, and I have never seen anything like this, ever. Now, even when I show you the hottest temperature of the river too, this is from one of the springs. 99.1 degrees C, 210 degrees Fahrenheit. You are not playing around at all. You know that story of the frog heating up in water? Absolute lie. If a frog is unlucky enough to jump into boiling water, frogs have very sensitive skin. They boil real fast. If eyes get to touch boiling water, the clear proteins that make your eyes nice and, seeable start turning this milky white color. You are trying to swim out, but muscles are cooking on the bone, cooking that poor skin of that frog, and, they just, struggle and then peacefully float down the river not too long after. If they feel heat, they will jump out fast. And I know enough about frogs to tell you about that. So I got to be super careful, right? It did take me 2 years or so to show my mom this picture. I didn't show her the rest of it though. Because that water's literally bubbling down below. And you got to be careful. Why? Because there's an amazing geothermal deposit right there. Hydrothermal minerals. Super cool. We can talk more about that later. But it was over there and I had to get a sample. But it is so clean that this water you can drink straight out of the river at the hottest parts. I know there was an Argentine guy in the back. One of my Argentine friends sent me some mate, and I literally made my mate right there at the boiling river. You can drink straight out of it. It is literally cleaner than Evian. And Evian is fancy. See that? You look up to the trees and you see just life abounding. What's incredible about the Amazon is this is literally one of the most spectacular celebrations of life on our planet. Wherever you look, someone's buzzing into breakfast, hopping around. Actually, this night that I took that photo, there was so much life. We literally had to shuffle to get all of these leaf toads out of the way. And what's incredible about that photo too, we're looking at that leaf toad with a UV light and finding that, hey, there's a whole nother way to view the Amazon that we haven't seen yet with fluorescence. There's a whole field of new studies that we're doing with that, but that's going to have to be for another talk. Now, I'm so blessed that in 2011, I actually got here because of a childhood legend. My grandfather in Lima, growing up as a kid, right, would tell me the story of the Spanish conquest of Peru, of a lost city of gold, and the failed expeditions to go find Paititi, El Dorado in Spanish, right, that lost city of gold. And the few that return come back with stories of cannibals, powerful shamans with spells that drove men mad, poison arrows that could kill you in a nick, giant snakes that could swallow a man whole, spiders as big as your hand that ate birds, and a river that boiled. I remembered that detail. I start working on my PhD, remember those stories, and start investigating it. And after about 2 years, I meet this man. This is Maestro Juan Flores. He is the shaman protecting over the boiling river. And when I got to meet him, I asked him, can I study this place? And in the process became the first geoscientist ever granted the shamanic blessing to study this sacred river. And it is literally turned, oh, by the way, those are jaguar fangs, by the way. These are jaguar shamans. They are handed down. This is a traditional thing. He's a shaninka. Really amazing. But what's incredible, too, about this place, if you look at the Boiling River, Maestro Juan, when he told me, you have my blessing to study this place, he also added something, and he said, we need your help. We can no longer conceal to protect. We need to bring this place to the world as responsibly as humanly possible, and that has turned into a life mission. You see, the Amazon is very much under threat. In Peru alone, we are losing about half a soccer field of Amazon every single minute. And that has been the case for most of my life. You expand out to the Amazon basin, so Brazil, Peru, that's 2 soccer fields every single minute for most of my life. You expand out to the tropics as a whole, by the way, across the planet, it's 30. 30 soccer fields every minute. And that is not sustainable. You want to see what this looks like? Here's the Boiling River area. This is political polygons. That's the Boiling River is this one right there. There's 2 other important rivers there. But this is what it looks like over time. So from a little bit before, a couple of years before I was born until the present, you watch deforestation coming in. And here's the thing. The jungle works as a sponge, sucking up runoff water. So watch what happens with the rivers, especially right there. I'm going to go back again and move forward. Watch what's happening here. The jungle is sucking up all that runoff river. So during the wet season, these rivers are blasting through. In the Boiling River area alone, the water levels change 30 feet from wet to dry season. That river is getting straighter and straighter and straighter with every wet season. Deforestation changes the entire ecosystem. And my PhD work in stable isotopes, looking at the water cycle in the Amazon and when it will actually go, is showing that most of the waters that we get in the jungle come from the jungle. The jungle itself is so massive, it produces its own rain, to the point that to accurately study the geochemistry of the Amazon, you need to consider the trees, the plants, as if it were an inland sea. It's absolutely wild, and unfortunately for another talk. Now, every scientist from every corner of the globe that I have ever worked with, ultimately, I feel, is finding this question. Are we here to document the destruction of these things that we love, or are we here to actually make a difference about them? Because this is the stage of the game where we are currently at. And I think it's obvious what I personally chose. We either bring value to places like the Boiling River, or we stand to lose it forever. And this is where I think this is not just the Boiling River Amazon problem, this is a global problem. And I think ultimately the question in conservation is, how do we assign value? And that's what we have to look at. There's so much more that I'd love to say, but in the minute I have left, I think the best local solution, the best answer to a global problem is a local solution. Because all global means, global is just the sum of all of the locals. And if you want the best way to find local solutions, I would argue start with schools. Parachute science is a thing. If you are growing up and living either in an indigenous community in the jungle or in the big city close by, that's still your area. If we take education and we look at growth opportunities in conservation and science, I would argue this one is by far the best move we have left on the chessboard. Notice that I'm not saying everything's open. There's a chessboard, there's a strategy, there's only so many moves, and I would argue this is the best one we have. We've got this problem, academia, science, fine institutions like this one, right? We often hold knowledge hostage in the ivory tower. As a Peruvian researcher, we can call it academic colonialism. It is an issue. It's been a thing. There's a lot to talk about there, right? But even here, why are we arguing about, in fact, I took an Uber the other day who very aggressively found out, well, once he found out I was a scientist, he very aggressively started explaining to me how science was fake, how education was brainwashing, how the earth was flat, how vaccines didn't work, gravity was fake, and this one was new to me, that gravity didn't exist. Because, I mean, Anyway, we'll leave that alone. But holding knowledge hostage in the ivory tower takes you to that reality. Let's bridge this gap. We need to get rid of that gap because right now, and I've served as a grant reviewer for plenty of these fine institutions, most of the time, we have an educational piece to our great expedition. What's it look like? The educational piece turns into a one-page PDF of facts. Here you go. Great classroom material? Not so much. Let's throw an intern at it. Instead of grabbing one of these fine K-12 educators that is an expert in educating young minds, that has a vast network of other teachers, of kids, of professional educational groups, we generally throw an intern at it. And we say, oh, we followed the protocols. But you put an intern. There's no network. There's no life. There's no connection. That's not how it works. Then look at the media carve-outs. Let's go back in time 100 years ago when people were taking this flag into the field. At that point, why are you taking a photographer out of the field? That's ridiculous. No one wants to see field photographs, right? What's happened? You can't go out in the field without a photographer or videographer now. That is a carve-out that is enshrined in exploration now. Why aren't we doing that with education? Why aren't we doing that with teachers? Because if we up here think we're so smart, then let's join this group down here, bridge that gap, and these guys right here are the way we bridge that gap. I'm convinced of it. Because guess what? I work in the Amazon, and we can fly over and see beautiful virgin jungle, and then a road, and then some development. I'm also finishing my PhD at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. And when I fly in, oh my goodness, what do you see? Virgin Texas landscape, then a road, then more development. Any problem you see in the field, you tend to see out in there too. I'm going to quote Frederick Douglass here, but it's far easier to build strong children than repair broken men. And that's as far as I'm going to get on any political statements today. And at the end of the day, if you inspire teachers, you're going to inspire students. Inspired teachers make inspired students. That's ultimately how it works. Because even though every single one of us probably has a horror story about some dunce teacher that treated us badly, all of us also have a story about a teacher who changed our lives. And that's where these lovely people come in. So what we want to do with this program is we want to level all of this up. We want to enter a new phase of exploration where education is enshrined, hopefully, in our grants program. I'm still fighting for that, so don't throw shoes at me yet, right? We need to connect education and exploration. One of the people who helped me come to this conclusion couldn't be here today. Her name's Becky Schnexer. She's come out to the field with me for the past 12 years. We met at a STEM conference. She was a K-12 educator. And she ultimately helped lay the foundation for a lot of what we're doing today. And a lot of what these fabulous people are going to share with you. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to Alejandro Mundo, then Julie, then Jonathan, then Ben, who are going to share a bit about their experience at the Boiling River in the field. So Alejandro, all you.
And just like that, now that you're captivated, we want to do the same thing with students. So we're bringing the Amazon jungle to the concrete jungle here in New York. And, you know, we, as a geoscientist, you can look at maps as much as you can, but it's way different when you actually go to the field and you eventually look at the maps, and eventually you discover that, oh, this is here, but then eventually you go out to the river and, oh, I see it. And it was all about exploration. It was all about finding the boiling river. It was all about going out in the field and seeing how did the geothermal system work. And eventually, it was about taking measurements. We were out there, we literally got on this boat and we went in the boiling river. We went to the mouth of the boiling river. Obviously, you have to be careful with that because you don't want to. So we were really careful. And we went to the edge of the river. We went to the depth of the river. We took measurements. We would measure the water turbidity. We measured the water quality. It was more than just, okay, it's a nice field trip. It was actually doing research. We went to do research, but it was not just about the group of people that Andres was showing earlier. It was also about connecting the locals, the indigenous people, the ones that saw, okay, what are you coming all the way from the US and other abroad countries to the Amazon jungle? Yes, we did. And we involved them. We actually showed them why it was so important. It was so important for them to see. And we collected samples together. We were there. And obviously, we also used the Rolex, as you can see there. But it was also about connecting to their lives. It's about connecting to their stories. Everybody has their own story. And the people here from the Amazon, from the jungle, the Shipibo. Here we have Karina Garcia, a shamanist, and she was singing, she was telling her stories from when she was a kid, when she was a girl, and how nature and how the river and what it meant to them, what it has meant to them all this time. Eventually, we were next to the river, we were sitting next to each other, we were having a conversation where she was telling me more about her culture, something that we don't get to hear about. Has anyone here heard about the Shipibo? Just one, two, but we need to hear more. We need our students to hear more about the Amazon jungle. We need our students to hear more about the boiling river. We need our students to hear not just what is it, but also why it's important and how it can connect to us as well. Eventually, it's also more than just the nature and the river. It's about the Shipibo people. It's about their art. It's about their music. It's about giving back. We took some backpacks to the students so they can have different materials for school. And here, this is beautiful art. As you can see here, it tells a story. It's not just random, let me draw this. It's their visions, the ayahuasca. It's what it tells them. It's about what it talks to them. The jaguar, the animals, the jungle, the boiling river, and it's all embedded into this art. I was able to talk not just to the local and the indigenous people, but also to people, important people from the government, the ones that work with tourism, the ones that they're also questioning. So if people from other countries are coming here to the boiling river in Peru, it must be a big deal. So that's why we talked about them. They were interested in, okay, if you're promoting it, might as well do it in Peru. Let's do it locally. And that's why they were there. They were trying to find out why the geothermal system is unique in the world and the boiling river is unique as well. I was able to talk to the elders. One of them told me, you know what, Alejandro, we used to have jaguars. We used to have wild animals. We used to have trees. We don't have it anymore. Deforestation has changed our places, our home. It's no longer as it used to be. And this is the home that is changing for these people. And this is why it's so important to bring education and, as an educator, connect it and bring it to my students. Because I want to tell the story. I want to tell the story of the Shipibo and the story of the boiling river and the surroundings. Because if I don't tell the story, they're going to be forgotten. And it's also about hope. It's about giving hope to the kids, the Shipibo kids. This is the Isawani school from Karina, and we're giving hope. And as an educator, that's my job, to tell stories, to give hope. And this is why it's so important to not just do the research and the science, but also to continue to tell the stories and to continue to give hope. Gracias.
What's your name and what you teach?
So I'm Alejandro Mundo, and I'm an educator at Kingsbridge International High School in the Bronx, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
I'm Julie Klipfel. I teach fourth grade at Howe Manning Elementary School. It's in a suburb just north of Boston, and I'm an adjunct professor at Salem State University. To me, classrooms are launch pads for exploration. They're not just places where we teach kids basics facts, and they're not just places where we teach kids about the world. They're places where we teach kids the power that they have to protect it. To me, exploration is not just about going to the furthest corners of the world. It's about bringing those corners into our classroom. When I first heard the news that I was an inaugural member of the Teacher Fellowship, my first reaction, after immediate excitement and gratitude, was a profound sense of responsibility. How was I going to bring this back to my students, to my colleagues, to my community? When my students first heard the news that I was heading to the Amazon, many thought I was simply doing some online shopping. So how was I going to bring the true Amazon to them, both its beauty and urgency needed to protect it without them physically being there? I accomplished this by carrying more than a notebook into the field. I carried with me a 360-degree camera. Through VR headsets, my students can now stand here, where I stand safely, on a rock in the middle of the boiling river. Just like I did, my students can watch the sacred waters bubble. They too can learn about the intersection of traditional knowledge with cutting-edge modern science. And just like I did, they can see steam so thick that it blurs the lines between water and sky. I will never forget the moment that I stepped through the steam and felt the power of this sacred place, and now my students get to feel this too. It's not just about bringing these places into the classroom through VR technology. It's about creating this emotional connection for students that transforms them from just a passive learner into an active environmental champion. When we do these things for kids, we're making an impact far beyond just bringing me as one educator on one expedition. You're bringing an entire classroom. You're impacting every single student that I come in contact with, teacher that I work with, colleague that I know, network that I'm connected with for this year, but for years to come. The story is multiplied. And this is just one way I brought the boiling river back to my students. Through another lesson, students were captivated by the sounds of the boiling river. They were able to turn to the river as a teacher. They learned that the indigenous community view the river as alive, as a being, as having a voice. When you start to ask questions like, what is the boiling river trying to tell me? How can I learn from it? How can I protect not just this river, but my local community? This captivates students in a completely other way. They are impacted, the story is amplified, but they're also transformed through this connection that I've created. The Amazon no longer feels so far away. The boiling river no longer feels so distant. The Amazon is no longer just simply an online store. It is deeply connected and rooted to their own environments. Standing here at the boiling river, I knew that I was bringing more than the river back to my students. I was teaching them that they have the power to protect a place that they may never physically be, but also they have the power to protect their local communities as well. Every day on expedition, it was a constant reminder that exploration is just as much about discovery and curiosity as it is about responsibility. Whether my students were putting on their VR headsets to see the steam or listening to the voices of the Amazon River, they were acting as explorers. They were listening, they were questioning, they were observing, they were thinking of solutions that were going to help our planet. When students start to see themselves as explorers, as change makers, as protectors, the ripple effect of that is powerful. As educators, when we teach the next generation to really listen to the planet, I truly believe that they are going to be the ones brave enough to save it. That, to me, is the power of exploration. That's what happens when you connect education and exploration.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan, and I am a science and special education teacher over in Long Island City, Queens, just across the East River. And I teach 7th and 8th grade science. I'm part of a project-based learning school. And so you can see here, we have a traditional school of dissecting sand sharks every year. And that's just one of the many things that we do at our school that really bring learning, especially science learning, to life. I'm also working as a special education liaison with the American Museum of Natural History to mentor student teachers as they get their master's in education. And then just some of my passions in regards to education just around literacy and especially teaching diverse learners. Thank you. So personally, I was born and raised in Queens. I grew up in a multi-ethnic household. I'm very proud of my Ecuadorian and Costa Rican heritage. I'm a first-generation American. I'm also a diehard Mets fan, as you can see here. In Grimace we trust. And the reason I mention this is because, you know, a lot of my own identity I see reflected back into me when I look at my students. You know, they also grew up in the same neighborhoods that I grew up in. They come from very similar backgrounds. And furthermore, I mean, traveling to Peru for me, in a way, felt almost like coming home. At the same time, like pushing these frontiers and exploring a whole new landscape that I've never been exposed to before. Prior to teaching, I was involved in field research. I worked with the Uganda Wildlife Authority, researching chimpanzee behavior. And you know, that's an experience I've carried with me to this day and I bring to the classroom every day. And so this extraordinary experience of traveling to the boiling river really solidified that belief that I've always held and that I felt so confirmed when I met Andres, was that phenomenon-based learning is really the future in education. You know, I spend my daily life working with kids who face so many boundaries, and it almost feels like an uphill battle every single day, just trying to prepare them for standardized testing and trying to bring these isolated facts and lesson plans to life for them. But with an experience like this, you know, you really are bringing the outside world to these students. You're creating multiple entry points for them. You're engaging them to a degree that they otherwise don't get from, you know, standardized textbooks. And so I truly believe from the bottom of my heart, an experience like this and the future of education relies on phenomenon-based learning, particularly for our diverse learners.
Got ahead of myself there. I'm Ben Walker. I teach 7th grade science in Anchorage, Alaska. That's with, it's kind of an integrated science, but we do a lot of biology, so that's kind of why I ended up at the Boiling River. The school's about 1,200 kids, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. We'd be considered an urban setting by Alaska standards, but we're probably more suburban for you guys. You can probably make your own New Jersey joke there, I don't know. I haven't been around enough. I'm really excited to talk to you guys tonight about the impact of teachers, but first I did just want to talk about the flag a little bit because I find it really important that we took Flag 114. This flag has been to the, as Andres' son knows, the deepest part of the ocean and to the highest peak on our planet. And now it actually went to the Boiling River to become the flag on the possibly the most important mission in education and exploration as we forge these new frontiers. So it's fitting this flag. It's fitting this flag. Before I get into a little more about the impact, I just want to talk about myself for a second. So this is me growing up in Ketchikan, Alaska. It's a small town in Alaska on an island. But if you look behind us there, we had a world map. And you could see that the United States was not centered. And that was on purpose. My parents wanted my sister and I to think about other parts of the world. So we would look at the green and the brown and the white and the blue and wonder, what's there? Who's there? Are they like me? Are they not unlike me? And then I would turn around and I'd look out on the coast of Alaska. And I could go out there and I could flip rocks and I could explore the marine ecosystem. And I tell you that not to like romanticize little Ben's childhood, but to tell you that in reality, programs like this, while they're helpful for the little Bens of the world, that's not their target, right? We have a huge gap. We have a huge gap between our students in everyday public school and conservation and exploration. We have students who are not raised in these sort of environments and aren't taught that they can be explorers and they can learn about the world and experience the world. And that is what's so important about this, because there's only so many ways to bridge that gap, and a big way to bridge that gap is teachers. teachers can bridge that gap. And as has been mentioned before, every teacher that goes through an experience like this affects anywhere from 30 to 160 kids. I have 160 kids in my classroom every year. So every single year, that's 160 kids. And then I go next door and I invite my neighbor to go with me, and that's another 160 kids. And I present at a conference, and that's another thousands of kids. And it's all these kids that otherwise, would not have the experience of little Ben growing up with a map on their wall. So the impact is exponential. Hold on, get the slides. So one of the things about working in the field and bringing that back to students, it's not only about the content, right? It's not only about bringing back the content of, extremophile fish or the boiling river itself and the geothermal phenomenon. It's about the experience of the field, right? It's getting students to understand how to work in interdisciplinary teams, how to have flexibility, and especially on something like this, how to work with the indigenous community to further the conservation of an area. And that is the same idea that can be applied anywhere in the world, including in, your own backyard. These are my students down at our ecosystem. Working together, we're doing some cryosphere and temperature stuff. So even though the expedition may be to a certain area, everything you learn from that can be applied in people's local community. And you saw some of that with these people as well. So it's more than just the content, it's also the practices. And then on top of that, it's the scientists doing the work. This is Kat. She's a PhD student at the University of Colorado. So these two at the top, there are on our expedition down in Peru. And then these are in Colorado when I was at the bee lab. Stingless bees for you. So it's bringing the personalities of the people actually doing the science back to these kids. And that's important for a number of ways. One of the biggest is to show that anybody can be a scientist. Anybody can be an explorer. And that an explorer is more than just someone who likes bees, right? An explorer is a fully complex human who maybe is into baking or is a professional dancer or likes to sing music in Thai. All three of those are real things, by the way. So it's letting these kids know that they can do this. So it's a number of big steps here in terms of bringing back these experiences. Oops, wrong direction. Okay. So I'll just leave it back to the flag and this new frontier of exploration. One of the things that this really does is it breaks down barriers. And we have so many students these days that want to do something to help the world. They live in a world of noise, right? Between social media and the news and everything else. And breaking through this noise and allowing them to start to make change in their communities is something that a program like this can do. There's a saying that my wife and I always say, and we're both teachers, but that is that, oops, I'm not good at this. Kids really do want to change the world. We just have to let them do it and break down those barriers. And a program like this, the Pioneer Flag 114 really is going into a new frontier, and it's going to be a highly, highly valuable thing for our students. Thank you.
Thank all four of you for that. Yeah, one more time. So as you can see, this makes exploration, what the Explorers Club is really good at, exponential. It makes it scalable. It makes it easily taken to any corner, any language, anything of the globe. We've got a really great path forward with this, and that's something that is really important. When our expedition is not done, even though we are turning this flag in, our mission from the expedition is not fully done because the next steps are threefold. Number one, best practices. There will be a document that is almost done for expedition leaders and explorers on how to best work with educators. There's another one, educators on how to best work with expedition leaders. Once we know those best practices, we can start opening our eyes to new realities. Everyone is giving their opinion, right? We also want to do a declaration. I'm a member of a lot of groups, and one thing that I've uniquely seen from the Explorers Club is, well, these declarations. Planting a flag and saying, hey, this is where the future needs to go. I first saw it at GLEX, actually. It was really impressive, and I was like, wow, I didn't think that was still done, but, I get it. And I think this is where we who give out grants, we who give out honors, we who go out into the wild places of the world can say, hey, for the next step, I've got my media carve out, I've got my educational carve out too. Because that's how we're going to move forward in science and exploration beyond that. And get this. So I am a scientist. I should have mentioned that I've worked in K-12 education since 2012 as well. I work actively with hundreds of schools and districts globally, as well as many professional educational organizations. And they're watching. I'm good at talking. And I happen to be an extreme extrovert. So I talk to a lot of people about this, and I promise you there are a lot of other groups watching what we hope to do right now. Because what if this starts as just the Explorers Club, but suddenly, you know, the Associations of Bilingual Education, or the Association of Science Teachers, or you name it, anywhere. There's a lot that we can do with this. So with that, gracias. Thank you very much. Or as they say in Shipibo Kanibo, irake. So before we go, we've still got Q&A. Well, you guys can forget about the Rolex. I can keep that if you want. But we can give the flag back. But then also, we showed you guys the boiling river. Hopefully took you there in your seats. But that's not enough. As a conservationist, and I know some people might like what I'm going to say, but I firmly and strongly believe if you want to help the Amazon, I think the best thing that you can do is go visit, by far. I work with indigenous communities. I have, at this point, 2 goddaughters in different communities, so I'm starting to get popular. You know? But what I can tell you is this. You go as a tourist. You're going to see the jungle. You're going to live your life. Oh, the jungle was a cool experience. Flip that script. If you were an indigenous little girl and an indigenous little boy, and all of your life you've heard, frankly, a post-colonial narrative of the jungle is there to be exploited. The jungle is only worth chopped up trees. Now you see these people coming from across the globe, quite literally, to pay you money to go see your trees, to go see the animals that you, whatever, they're just there, right? That starts changing people's perspectives. And more than anything else that we can do, that change of perspective is critical. That's what will push us over the edge and turn all of this junk on its side. How do we build that emotional connection? How do we make things truly exponential? How do we open up opportunities for people who would never dream about this, or make sure that we can give students the opportunities to fight and have that impact that they want to? I've been blessed to get to work on many history books for other groups, right? Educational publishers. And after doing a world history and US history book, my biggest takeaway was most of human history, most of the wars, the inventions of whatever, were done by really young people. 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds. People we baby now can have huge impacts. And that's the power of project-based learning. That's the project of having great mentors that can take them there. Give them the experience. So with that, we need an experience. And with that, I'm going to have to pick 15 people out from this crowd. So if you don't raise your hand, I will. All right, you, up you go, please. Stand over there by that flag. We got 1. You're not getting anywhere. You got to come. 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys are so neat and organized. You got to go. 2. All right. Up you go. Come on. All right. Can we get better lighting, too? Can we have you stand right here? What's your name, my friend? Christiana. Dragonfly. Love it. Can you stand right here? And I'm going to need you guys shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to shoulder. You might have to take a step forward because our podium's in the way. Actually, can you take... We'll line up here. We don't want to smush the podium. Right there. Sorry. Shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to shoulder. Don't hide behind them. We're going to need more. Come on, up you go. Actually, Callie, get up there. What are you doing? Come on. We're going to need 2 more people. Shoulder to shoulder. Julie, come on. Okay, well, we needed 1, but actually, Ben, get to the other side for me. Okay, then you face me, right? Okay, now I need them to close their eyes. Guys, make sure that they're closing their eyes. Felix, did we get the lights up as best we can? So like I said, if it were up to me, I would take all of you into the jungle. Unfortunately, funding is an issue, and there are also some legal matters. But we brought a bit of the jungle to you guys tonight. So Ben, could you take a knee with me? I'm going to toss this to you and you're going to catch it. Ready? You guys open your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Catch it. Wow. All right, now I need you guys crab claws like this. Now grab like that. There you go. You might have to spread it out a bit. Are you licking it? Don't lick my snakeskin. Hey, you know, that's excellent observation, though. I am proud of you, my friend. Exactly. So this is from the Amazon. This is almost exactly 20 feet long. It's missing 2 feet for where the head used to be, so we would have been over here. This is a female green anaconda. The males will generally only grow to about 16 feet long. In Peru, I have worked in places where they have caught things over 27 feet long. So this is not full grown. They get bigger. But they don't if we don't protect their ecosystems. And just this alone is an incredible plethora of opportunities. You could feel, tell me about the skin. What's your feeling?
It's incredible seeing the texture. I feel like I've always heard that the scales will run one direction, but feeling them, seeing how they're layered over each other is a totally different experience.
He mentioned one of my favorite tie-ins to history. So this is an unstretched anaconda skin. The scales are overlapping. If you go to where the neck was, you'll actually see some, space. Oops. You'll see some space in between. You'll see some human-looking skin in between the scales. Now, that right there is stretched. This is all unstretched skin. If I was an explorer back in the day and I wanted to impress the king and queen of Spain, I would tell them, ooh, we got big snakes. And I'd grab one of these, freshly killed, and I'd stretch it out. Because they're so elastic, I would dry it stretched out. This thing could easily have gotten 60 to 100 feet long. So I would go in, stretched out, right? So this is unstretched. So this is true size. But stretched out, it would be exaggerated, right? But it's a great way to trick people. Fake news. Boo. But it's part of that lesson. If you wanted to raise money for your expedition, spirit fingers. But also there's another interesting tie-in. My 7-year-old's in the audience. How they procreate, we'll put it that way, right? You generally have one very large female with a harem of 8 to 12 males. So what the Spanish explorers would see is one very large snake head and a whole bunch of writhing snake bodies. They didn't know where one started and one ended. The stories of the 100-foot anacondas, where do you think they're coming from? You look at the mottled pattern here, a beautiful muddy color with round black spots. That tells you about the ecosystem. These guys love slow-moving waters that are organic rich. I mean, truly evolved to adapt beautifully to their ecosystem. Their eyes are closer to the top of their head, similar to like a crocodile or a hippo, right? They'll lie in wait and grab you, wrap a few coils around you while they're drowning you, because it's way more efficient to drown you and squeeze you to death than just squeeze you to death, right? It works. And a couple of final things, actually right here, where you've got your hand, that one fell off, but there's a spur. These large constrictors have vestigial structures, little ancient feet, quote unquote, or what's left over. They're spurs, now used for adult tickling purposes. You'll get it one day. But anyway, but that is a perfect example of that. And then one of the final just interesting things about this thing is, unfortunately, it did die in conflict. It was given to me. It was the strangest, most unexpected birthday present I have ever gotten. But I am very honored that I can now use it to go to schools, to show people. Because you can hear stories of a snake that'll swallow a man whole. But then you get to see one. And that is a different experience. You spend a week looking for one of these in the jungle, going barefoot with rolled up pants, walking around murky, muddy water that you're like, is this a piranha? Is this a caiman? Is this a pasteleta, a flat sting fish with tail, the sharp thing? Stingray, yes, sorry. That one. There we go, sorry. it's a different experience. You fall in love. You fall in love with the jungle, and once you do, you want nothing more than to protect it. So hopefully with that, you're a little more connected to the Amazon. And thank you guys again for coming. We're here for questions. Isn't that cool? And we can roll it up so you guys aren't stinging. And we'll pull it out later after the Q&A is over. We want to keep Mr. Felix happy. Any questions? Natalie. Takes a
First
while.
off, amazing presentation to all of you. Thank you again, and to your models here for showing us the snake. Thank you.
Models.
I did want to hear from everyone what was the most unexpected thing on the expedition, and I in no particular order.
All right. Well, I think we got Jonathan first, so if he can grab.
The most unexpected thing was just how amazing the Peruvian gastronomy could be in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. That was phenomenal. That was a very pleasant surprise.
That's
no,
just
I
me
mean,
being OCD though. That's not normal.
No, I would just say like the power and like the heat. Like I know I spoke to Andres prior to making this voyage, but just seeing it for yourself, like with your own eyes, like it's like a 30-minute hike to get to the camping site where we were staying at first, and you know it's really just like a sight to behold. So I was just kind of like in awe, and yeah.
I would say that the most unexpected thing was really how nice bucket showers are. They truly are. Like, it's really simple. You can get it done in like 2 buckets if you're good. I would just say, we went like how long we didn't have internet. We had spotty electricity. We were taking bucket showers. We all didn't look in a mirror for 10 days, but that was still just like such a great time. Like the jungle rewards these really important qualities of life, like stillness, flexibility, listening. So you have that like desire. It's just unexpectedly wonderful.
Yeah, I'm going to first echo what Jonathan said, and I mentioned it in my talk, but the steam, you can't imagine it. You've seen pictures, and it's completely different when you're actually there. It is so thick. It really, like, you do not see where water is compared to sky, but I know Jonathan already said that, so I'm going to do a different one. Our very last night hike was probably like the most unexpected moment of the whole expedition. We were out on a night hike. It was the very last night. We all of a sudden, Andre starts freaking out in the excited way, so you knew to freak out in the excited way, and we actually stumbled across a sloth. The sloth had come out. Andres informed us about once a week they come out to use the bathroom, and so the sloth was actually headed towards the boiling river. And so Andres put it on a stick. We hiked it to a safer part of the river, and then like released it back into the trees. And it was a moment that best night ever. It was absolutely amazing. It was one of those moments you don't go in expecting anything like that to happen, and it was truly amazing. Yeah, sorry, Ben. It's a little touchy. Someone went to bed.
Yeah. If you can see her, she's right here. And then there was a big male later that night that was probably chasing her around. So thank you. Yeah, so that's her. I'll run around. But yeah, chasing is chasing. But they do come down once a week to go to the bathroom. That's when most of the predators get them. It's a sloth. Yeah, so we had 2 of them that night, this huge male, and then that little female that almost, luckily we did see it in literal slow motion, but she was headed towards the boiling river, which wouldn't have been good. But also that night, we caught like 4 baby caiman. Like the...
Go by the podium and then hold this to the online audience.
Oh, yeah, where's the... Yes, sorry.
I know it's hard for you.
I'm sweating, but... No, but baby caiman, so they're like little crocodile, well, not little crocodiles, the adults of that species get to be 18 feet long, right? So the black caiman is the largest of the crocodilians in South America, and the adults eat the little ones, so they go up small rivers, and they go into the jungle. So we got to catch and hold a bunch of them, and measure them. The biologist on the team was so happy about it. Well.
So there was, I want to say two of them. One of them was actually because obviously the boiling river is hot, so you're gonna get hot from the bottom, but also as you're walking through the jungle, you get hot from around, and then it's sunny, so you get hot from the top, so you get hot all around. And that was, so even like, there was a moment where we actually had the opportunity to find these trees with, was it like cantaloupe or papaya? One of those like papaya.
Papaya.
And it was like, it felt, it was delicious. It was like, yeah, it felt the best thing we could ever get in the jungle. And the second thing is that looking up at night was something I had, like, it's a memorable experience because you would be able to see thousands of stars, and literally you could see the Milky Way in the middle of the jungle because there's no lights at all. So that was such a unique experience that I think it can only be experienced there. So definitely you got to check that out.
I have two questions, if it's possible. How bad mosquitoes was, and why river actually boil?
Ah, touche. So we tend to go during peak dry season because I am a geothermal scientist, and rainwaters mess my geothermal measurements up. Not very much, but I want to keep the most pristine waters. A perk of going in peak dry season is least chance of mosquitoes, and an extra perk of working next to the world's largest documented thermal river. Mosquito larvae don't do very well in hot water. So the mosquitoes are bad in the rest of the jungle. They're not terribly bad in our area during our time of the year. But then also talk to the locals, man, because there's a type, I don't smoke, but there's a type of cigarette called mapacho. The cigarettes you buy here are Tabaco Virginiensis, 6 to 18% nicotine. In the Amazon, they have a local variant that's like 18% nicotine. So if you inhale this, bleh, you know, it's not gonna work out. Don't do that. But the Amazonians will, and they blow it on, it's called a soplado. So, I mean, we quite literally always had someone, there's always a closet smoker in the group. And it's like, you don't know who they are, but then they'll pop up and it's like, oh, I gotcha. And then I will literally buy them a bag full of these things and they'll be chain smoking away, happy as can be, and we are bug free. So, if you got a special talent, my friends, you know. So number one, why does the boiling river boil? That is my PhD dissertation. I will release the full and super cool details of it hopefully in May or August of 2026. But for now, I can tell you, water falls as rain, goes deep into the earth, probably about 4 to 5 kilometers down, and flows underground laterally until it gets to a really unique spot where the right geological conditions have come together just right to allow for the boiling river to form. And what is that? To create a boiling river, and that's not a scientific term, right? A large thermal river that is impassable. You need 4 things to align perfectly, much like the cogs of a Rolex watch. How's that, Will? But you need a tremendous source of heat. The deeper you go into the earth, the hotter it gets. About 25 degrees C per kilometer is the temperature as it goes up, right? You need a lot of heat. You need a lot of water. The Amazon basin holds roughly 20% of the world's fresh water, so they think, right? We've got the water, the heat, the deeper you go, the hotter it gets. You need the right plumbing system. In this case, fractures, faults, cracks, to ensure that that water gets from deep in the earth up to the surface quickly enough to where it doesn't cool down. And in the case of the boiling river, because of some really unique faulting and really unique geologic structure, you've got veins, right? Hot blood running through your veins and arteries. The earth has hot water running through its cracks and faults. Where you get to an earth artery, lots of hot water, lots of hot water. And that's what, as a geothermal scientist, if I was working for the geothermal energy industry, that's what I'd be looking for. This is a conservation project. But we are looking at an earth artery, if you will, at Earth's surface, and there's nothing, 4th thing, there's nothing on top at the surface to cool it down. I've worked a lot in Iceland, for example, where quite literally, you know, our boiling river is bigger and hotter than theirs. And they're a volcanic island. Actually, same with Yellowstone. Yellowstone's a super volcano, and our boiling river is way bigger and way hotter than Yellowstone's. But who's comparing? That would be petty. But anyway, yeah, so there's nothing on top to cool it down. So that's the short answer for now.
As you described it as a sacred location, are you aware of any archaeological artifacts or offering sites within the boiling river?
Yes. Oh, I want to talk about that so badly. What can we say legally? Yes. Actually, this man right here, Dennis, could you stand so everyone can look at your wonderful self? He flew a really special drone with a LiDAR on it, and we will be sharing that data with the Peruvian government because one of the things that we confirmed exists now, thanks to Dennis, is a place, I can't talk about this one. It's called the Field of Bones. I was talking to one of my local friends, and he's like, we all know you've been all over the hot parts, but you've never been to the Field of Bones, they tell me. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, there's a field of human bones in the middle of the jungle. I mean, that's already a couple red flags, but that sounds really cool. Let's go check it out, you know? And effectively enough, it is a field of human bones. We weren't sure the age, but again, thanks to some of the work of Dennis and ground truthing over here, what we found was, well, Peru in the 80s had a little problem with a group called the Shining Path. And there was, can't tell all the details right now, but what we can tell was a firing squad area in the middle of the jungle, remote location, and mass grave. Very, very shallow one. So interestingly enough, that still needs to be explored more. We are currently talking to the Peruvian government about doing that in coordination with them because the way we see it, we want to connect. We need to see the world with both eyes, breathe with both lungs, fight with both fists, and that's local and international. That's the way you do it. So yeah, there's other cool stuff that I'm not at full liberty to say. I am dying to because the name of the project is literally called Cannibals of the Boiling River, History of a People Wronged, which is a great title, if I don't say so myself, but we need to apply for another grant.
In this forum, you guys are captivating, but I'm curious with the amount of stimulation that we and obviously the kids get from electronics and social media and all of that. How do you find overcoming that stimulation and presenting this type of experience in a relevant way that they connect with?
Well, I guess we'll have to all of us at once. I like getting, with my classes, so I've taken groups of up to 100 students out into the Amazon. For example, the last group, and it was a big group, right? We always have interns. Since 2016, through the Boiling River Project, my nonprofit, we've been taking students, well, teachers, students, and in certain instances, overprotective parents, with us into the jungle as well, and it's all project-based learning. So in our case, we find, stellar students. They have a project, they have to turn it in. We had 3 students with us this year, high schoolers. When we take larger groups out, I actually let them incorporate aspects of the phone. Again, I'm working in the field where they don't have connection. And we are literally getting them dirty. And when it's like, oh, watch out for, the piranha, their eyes are on other things than their phone. But I'm going to pass it off to the educators.
You're asking a really great question, and it's one I'm sure like myself and many other educators across the country are asking themselves as well. I would say I had a professor that he taught a technology and education course, and the number one thing I got out of that course was not to necessarily be afraid of technology. Like Andres said, incorporating technology into your lessons, into your pedagogy is a very vital step in this day and age. And I feel like when we let go of that fear, it opens a whole realm of possibilities. That being said, of course, you mentioned all of this extra stimuli, and again, this is a question that I don't necessarily have the answer to. Definitely want to soon. But yeah, I would say it's all about the engagement. You always want to keep kids engaged. And that's kind of what I tried to get across in my little blurb was, you know, things like project-based learning and phenomenon learning are the future of education because they really do kind of grip your students' attention in a way that, you know, reading from a textbook doesn't necessarily do. So.
Yeah, I'll loop back to what I talked about before because you are talking about the noise, right? Just like the current barrage of everything, and you know, that's what teachers do is they break through the noise, right? Because even though the students didn't experience it, someone that they know and trust did, right? I mean, if you can just imagine Julie in her 4th grade classroom sitting down to talk to all these little, what are they, 9, 10-year-olds about this place, that's completely different than if they just are scrolling on TikTok and they see a river with steam. So really trying to make learning more of a social activity because really everybody wants that. Kids want that to learn socially, and so I think the expedition explorer type science works because explorers don't work in isolation, right? They have to work with other explorers. They have to work with local communities. So replicating that for students, I found really they don't reach for the technology when they're doing that. So just finding a way through the noise by personal connection, I guess would be the way I describe it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great question, right? We teach in classrooms where students are overstimulated, they're on technology, they're sucked in, they're captivated by it, and I think it's something as educators we are constantly trying to motivate and engage our kids in new and exciting ways, and I actually think that's exactly what this fellowship does, right? We are now coming into the classroom with this experience. We had this experiential experience to bring into them to talk about. We've hooked them, we've excited them in ways that it's very hard to do right now in the classroom, right? They're like, want to go play a game or go on the computer, and like that's not education, that's not teaching, right? We use technology in, I always refer to it as technology as creation, not consumption. So they're not just consuming technology, they're using it for some type of creation. I spoke about the VR headset, which is technology, but it's not in a way of you're just consuming it, you're then using that to make an emotional connection that then transforms you into an active environmental champion, right? You're going to then go do something in your own environment because you have experienced this, you've fallen in love with this other place, you have a teacher who's now connected to it, you have a scientist who's now connected to it in a real way, becomes a real person, not just somebody that we're learning about in a textbook, not just somebody that we're reading about in a book, but somebody who is a real person that you can talk about, you can tell stories about. So it's really like a way to connect on a personal level that overcomes the kind of motivation and engagement that becomes difficult based on kind of the technology world that we live in now.
And just like, I got two more, I don't know which one to use. I'll use this one, the Explorers Club one. But just like most of us here grew up with no technology and we turn out to be good, right? I hope. No, we have to also give this, we have to intentionally give these opportunities to our students and replicate what we did in the field. Like Julie said, you know, maybe our students not necessarily we're not going to take a field trip to the Boiling River, but they can go out to the river, to the Bronx River. They can go to the Hudson. They can measure. They can take samples. We can involve them locally so they can care locally as well. They can give back to the community. They can do something for the community. And it goes back to, for example, with some of my students, we went to the park, nearby park to our school, and I asked them, hey, we're gonna go clean the park, and we're gonna plant trees. So we teamed up with the city parks, and we ended up going to this on this Saturday. Few students showed up, they came, we planted a tree, we cleaned the park, we raked the leaves, and they told me, I had never seen the park like this. It's always about like after school, let's go hang out to the park, but that changed their perspective because I decided to give them a hands-on experience that they could do locally, and they were capable of doing it. So if we give them the opportunities to do it hands-on where they are, they don't have to go out there. They don't have to use technology. They don't have to use videos and other things. They can do it where they are. If we all do it where we are, our students will gain experiences We're to the point where they can actually start doing local things without the need of technology.
I think I promised someone here.
I'm back to the river. Can anything live in the boiling river?
That is an excellent question, and the answer is yes. Very few things. Most complex organisms, like you or me, right? 47 degrees C, or about 117 degrees Fahrenheit, is where we done. That's the cooking temperature. We did find fish, which usually have very, very, very low tolerance of heat, in the boiling river. We're trying to figure out where that adaptation came from, right? It is very common, though, for heavy rain to fall, heavy rain exclusively, to cool down the river enough, only the lower reaches of it, for about 20 minutes to an hour, enough to, lower the temperature, fish swim in from the big local river, and then the rain turns off, and the temperature starts heating up, and there's a fish boil, right? And what's cool is the pink river dolphins that live in the Pachitea River sometimes like to wait at the mouth of the river to eat their boiled fish, which is super interesting. We didn't get to see anyone this time, I'm sorry. We got 2 sloths, though, Everyone but Ben did. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, Ben. Come back. But yeah, there's also microbes. So we have an entire group dedicated to studying the microbes, the fungi, the lichens, you name it. And it is to say that there is a whole world. Imagine caving, right? And then you see a little hole and opening that up and finding just a massive chamber. That's pretty much where we are now with the microbial studies at the Boiling River. Ugh, so much I want to say, but I can't.
Maybe 1 or 2 more questions.
How does that extreme temperature affect the rock on either side of the river and the land? Does it change it a lot? Is it weirdly steady? What's it like?
So the rocks, they don't really care too much. 100 degrees C is nothing to geology, right? Because you need a couple thousand of degrees to really get lava, right? Well, you can get lower than that, but you know what I mean. The soil. This is what is absolutely fascinating, critical, and out of this world about the Boiling River. We've already got 6 published scientific studies on this fact alone. This has been spearheaded by Dr. Ken Feely and his students from the University of Miami in Florida. Now, the soils. The Boiling River Valley is a micro ecosystem. Again, roughly 4 miles long. It can get to over 100 feet wide. That thermal effect goes into the soil, goes into the valley, so that some of the soils might be up to 10 degrees C hotter than normal background Amazonia. This is where things get interesting, because that thermal feature has probably been at the surface for at least the past 10,000 years. So that ecosystem is at a homeostasis point. That's in balance, even with the high temperatures. Now comes the next step. Climate change. Climate change impacting all of Amazonia, artificially raising those temperatures. What's the next homeostasis going to look like? What we have found is with every degree C increase in those soils, there's a roughly 10% loss in biodiversity. On top of that, and that part is the not so nice part, the nice part though is there might be some really unique interactions going on in the subsurface there. Not just with the tree roots, but with the entire ecosystem that exists in the root systems. The fungi, the microbes, the entire rhizosphere there. Are there special adaptations that have evolved in the Boiling River area that could, hypothetically speaking, ideally speaking, be used as the perfect natural laboratory that we can then use and hopefully help protect the rest of Amazonia? This place, I would argue, is the most important natural laboratory in all of South America, definitely all of the Amazon. I would argue one of the most important in all of South America and one of the most important in all of the tropics. So there's a lot more that we have to do, and unfortunately in a very short amount of time. But got to get back down there. Don't worry, we'll.
So first of all, this has just been amazing. So thank you all for both your presentations and what you do. So you're encouraging us to travel to the Amazon and go to the boiling river, and I would love to do that. What would I need in terms of permission in order to do that?
So with the boiling river itself, what we have been working on, and we are actively, literally working with the government on right now, is there has been, unfortunately in the past, a lot of corruption. And we are working on fixing that with them to have a certified tour guide project, right, where the people who are leading you and picking you up from wherever in the nearest major city, right, is certified. And that you can say, okay, this is a person who's going to provide opportunities for other locals, who's going to clean up after themselves, who's not going to let you go to the bathroom in a place you shouldn't be going to the bathroom in, right? Protecting the animals, because irresponsible tourism is a huge issue. So we've got a multi-pronged attack there, both from the local level and also from other larger groups that we're working with, as well as the government, to find the best solution we can. Obviously, the world is messy. We are quite literally in a war for our planet right now. And to give you an idea, some of they didn't get to, wouldn't take them to deal with some of this stuff, but part of my work has been in the illegal markets. Part of my work has been looking at land traffickers, at lumber traffickers. One large tree, depending on species and type, if you go and chop it up into boards, $5,000 to $10,000 US on the illegal markets. You get fake papers, you just up the price another $5,000. COVID made all of that a lot worse. So we are still dealing with that. So we desperately, desperately need to find a way to make a tree worth more standing up than it is laying down. That could be tourism, that could be educational lessons, that could be essential oils. My biggest thing to the universe out there, right now Dennis over there is helping with the Boiling Rivers nonprofit right now to come up with some really cool strategies that we're hoping to get on. One of the ones that I'm putting out to the universe right now. We all know Burning Man exists, right? We all know Burning Man has a big environmental footprint. Here's one. Let's flip that. Hey, Burning Man, I invite you guys to partner with us to do Boiling Man. In which, at the end of the music festival, we can bring plenty of it. We've got a bunch of great Peruvian artists, too, that I can introduce you to. But we've got all of this deforested area. What if we took some of those funds, bought some areas, and planted a large humanoid figure, right, in the shape of a big tree? We could watch them grow from Google Earth, right? It would be the opposite, right? It would work perfectly. And the funding that we could get from that really fun concert could go back into conservation, and boom, we got it. We got to think creatively. So.
We have time for one last question, and it's my roommate over here.
How do the locals live and support themselves, and how far away from the river do they live, and in what sort of structures? And do they work?
Yeah, so there's a number of layers to that question, and part of that is really going back to his question with the anthropology side of it. This is an area that's seen some really wild history that, unfortunately, because we are being recorded, I can't share right now, but it is insane. It's all right. Well, protect the. I was like, But anyway, we can talk about that off the record there. I promise you, it will blow your mind. What I'm going to tell you, though, off camera. But the people who we are in communication with, the people who ancestrally held this area for generations upon generations. For some of the newer coming indigenous groups, right, who've maybe a couple generations, different groups respond in different ways. And part of the huge issue that the land is facing right now is something called cultural erosion or cultural degradation. There is a very, very clear trend where you have communities that are in balance, where you have communities that are connected to their traditional dignities, traditional ways. I'm using terms that Karina, the one that you saw in Alejandro's presentation, I met because my mentor was her. She was the apprentice to him. He was a shaman and a leader. He was the one that would say, Andres, well done. All right. So Maestro Antonio Senenpani was his name. That's how we met. We were both apprentices under the same guy. Me for conservation stuff, her for shamanism stuff. It was kind of fun. But he used to say, Andres, if you really want to understand conservation in the Amazon, you have to remember the biggest threat to the jungle are the natives who have forgotten that they're natives. Because they know how to disappear into the jungle and chop down the tree that's valuable, how to kill the animal that's there. They know that, but they've lost that traditional respect. It's now been replaced with globalization and make money quick. And he, Senenpani, Maestro Senenpani, sorry, would also go further than that. And he would say that the big problem of the greater civilization, of Western civilization, you name it, is that everyone in this room happens to be a native who've forgotten that we're natives. Where are you from? It's where you're buried. Your dead are buried where your DNA becomes earth. You are connected to that land. Further, there's another beautiful story of a shaman and a Western doctor coming together. The Western doctor tells the guy, oh man, well this person's sick, he's depressed, not doing great, right? And the response was, when was the last time that person sang? When was the last time that person danced? When was the last time that person connected with their other self, i.e. their nature, their land that they are a part of? So there's a lot of valid questions in that still. But to answer your question, because I've gone a bit, you've got the Shipibo Kanibo like to live close to the big rivers. They ancestrally like big rivers. They have similar huts to what you saw there. You are seeing more, concrete and steel being poured more and more everywhere. But it generally goes with what's cheapest. So a lot of times it's those zinc-plated stuff and scrap lumber these days, unfortunately. The Ashaninka, who a lot of you know my colleague Rosa Vasquez, who you'll see her popping up in other places, right? She works with Ashaninka communities. The Ashaninka tend to like higher jungle areas. Ancestrally speaking, that's what they would, or at least the ones that in our area would call their home. Another group called the Kakataibo, and they used to be in this area as well, and they had similar sort of hut and wooden and thatch hut structures.
Awesome. Hey, so I just wanted to thank Andres, Jonathan, Ben, Julie, and Alejandro. Can we give it up for this amazing presentation? Thank you all. Thank you all. We have an exciting season coming up, but you could not have asked for a better start to kick us off. Flag return, watch return, educators, and how many kids are going to be touched by this? So,
well, we should return those things before the
yes,
Rolex disappears. That was probably the most stressful part of the expedition.
Do not boil the watch.
No. Came close, though. But with that, thank you, Flag 114. So from the top of Everest to the bottom of the Marianas Trench and cleaned in the boiling river. You see how clean this is? You see how dirty some of those are?
Refurbished.
Boiling river geothermal freshness right there. So Natalie? Yeah. Alejandro was sneaking off with the watch. It's in there. Everyone sees it. It's been returned.
Thank you for this expedition. And please learn more about the inaugural teaching expedition, or fellows expedition.
Before, one more thing on behalf of us. So she has been instrumental in getting us up here and making all of this happen. And Karina, the lady behind there, made this. And this is to say thank you from behalf of our team. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, and thank you to Marina. Okay. Did not expect that. Thank you. And thank you all for being an amazing audience in the room and online. All of our speakers will be around for questions, additional questions afterwards, but hope you enjoyed the evening, and thank you very much.
Is Will back there? Will, get up here.
Is Will Roseman?
No. No, he snuck away. Well, we had something for Will, too. But all right, well, thank you guys so much. I'm here for questions if you need me. Of course. Yeah, question about the snake skin. Yeah, can we keep the mic on just in case? So That is the top half of the snakeskin. The lower, the belly scutes, are basically long scales that go horizontally.